Hello there, everyone. So glad to be here today. Today, we're going to be talking about um, the importance of independent thinking in the modern age. And I actually wrote this down as saying, you have a brain, use it. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. A little facetious, but so serious as we kind of just see where people are taking on the followers mindset without realizing that it doesn't mean syncing up completely with what someone else believes, and that you still have free will and free choice, all of those things. All right, so before I jump all into that, Patricia here, so glad to be here with you. A little bit about myself. I've spent decades as an attorney, a registered lobbyist, um, an senior executive in various organizations, where I've had an opportunity to see all kinds of things when it comes to leadership, when it comes to how you work with people and build relationships that matter and that can last for a career and a lifetime. What it looks like to actually speak up for yourself and for others and be empowered by those activities, and what it means to need to take care of yourself and take a step back and engage in some serious self care and wellness development. All things that I look forward to and continue to share here on this channel and in the future, um, from a real people kind of standpoint, not just the teachings of my old work, but telling some of the stories that went on behind the scenes with some of those situations. Before we go any further, I must make sure to ask you all to hit that little thumbs up, and to subscribe as we continue to build and uh, develop this channel in this refreshed way, and get it pushed out to other people. So feel free to share as well. Um, so here we are, and I don't want to be long about this, but it just came to me after doing some other work, and where it's just like so frustrating right now to see the things that are going on around, and you're like, are these people like using their brains? Like, are they actually thinking these things through? And not in an elitist, oh, I think better than you, and so, what's wrong with you type of way, but really and truly, like, in the very basic core values, core morals, simple understandings about how things work in the world, and taking the taking what someone says as the absolute truth without questioning it at all, which is just beyond me. And I guess that's because I'm a lawyer by training. So literally one of the first things you're taught as a lawyer is to question everything. It's like just question everything. And even before being a lawyer, I was just always naturally curious, which is why I read so much. I read all kinds of things. I read things that seemed to apply to me. I would read things that didn't. And I carried that through, even up until today. There's no telling what you might find me just going around exploring and being curious about. So, that adds to this lack of understanding on my part of like how you can just move forward without any real thought to what's being laid before you. And there's nothing like modern technology to really lay things out there for you, because in this day of AI, it really should bring to light more for people to question more of everything, not just in images, but in words that are said, words that are written, not just the pictures we see, but people don't. And granted, the AI is really, really good. It's kind of scary how good some of it is. So that such that, I've had to have more of a critical eye because there would be some things I'd be like, oh, okay. And my daughter be like, Mom, that's AI. Now, mind you, she is in the film business, and so she can spot this stuff a mile away. And I'm just like horrified that I didn't catch it at first. So I'm having to sharpen my eye so that I can see it better and faster, not just the obvious stuff. But when it comes to the words that are spoken and that are written, I guess as a words person, I just feel like there's just even a higher level of responsibility to question some things and not just take them at face value. That's where I'm headed. And unfortunately, that's not the case. And when that becomes not the case in all aspects of life, you know, I'm not the psychologist and psychiatry person, but out there, that whole gaslighting term is very much alive. And it basically means when someone's just trying to fake you out by pretending something is one way when it really is not. That's what it is. And so that's why I'm like, do do you guys have a brain and are you using it? I know that probably so much of this is people are exhausted. People are just exhausted with all the challenges. There just seems to be no end to all of the things that are before us. And if we don't take the opportunity to be more deliberate in how we receive information as well as how we deliver it, it's just going to lead to a very lazy way of thinking, a way of operating that's very dangerous for our society at large. If we're not there already in some ways in the US. I don't know. I can't speak to other countries. My friends from the other countries can weigh in here, but I know in the US it's just like mind-boggling about, well, so and so said this, so it must be true. No, they're like there are five different ways that's wrong. you know? And I know, like I said, I'm naturally that way. I mean, my family, like I make them crazy. I know this, but it has served me well professionally to ask questions, to not just take things at face value. And some people might say, "Oh, well, maybe you're just being overly skeptical." No, I'm trying to be accurate. So if being overly skeptical leads to greater accuracy in the information that I have in order to make an informed decision, then yes, call me a skeptic. But most of the times I'm not being a skeptic for being, for skepticism's sake, but I'm truly trying to be like, but is there another element of truth to that? Or is there more to this fact scenario? Because it seems like there are some facts missing, right? Again, maybe it's my training, and I don't think that's an excuse. I think that, um, everyday people can ask everyday questions. And when you ask those questions, that can generate additional conversation and lead you down some paths that you might not have pursued previously, but will help you with your learning. So I just wrote down a few quick um, points to think about in terms of the importance of making, being an independent thinker and maintaining that. And the first thing is, please take your brain power back. and that definitely sounds a little facetious, and maybe it is, but our brains are these incredible machines, and it always just was so mind-boggling to me when they say that we don't even use, you know, 80, 90% of it. Like the smartest people in the world still don't use the full power of their brain. And that is just so fascinating to me. So to me, that means there's so much power that we have up here that goes unutilized, underutilized, only by choice, right? Some people have an actual inability to do that, if there is a mental illness or a mental deficiency of some sort. But most people do not fall into that category. And so that's why I say take your brain power back. Like there's so much power there. Take it back and be deliberate about what you let live in your head. And that's not just, politics. That's with work and with family. There's so many different situations we're faced with all the time. And where we just decide, I'm tired. I don't feel like exploring that today. I don't want to give thought to that today. And that's fine. But that does not mean you should not ever go back to that situation and give it serious thought or to ask some questions that could help, you know, bring some light to a situation. So take your brain power back. Well, let's just start there and figure out what is that one thing you've been really lazy minded about. What do you need to do in order, what's one step you need to take in order to take your brain power back and do something constructive and deliberate, um, and thoughtful in terms of like really thinking it through, instead. The second thing, trust but verify. I am the queen of trust but verify. Actually, I'm probably the queen of verify then trust. I worked in politics for a very long time. I worked in office environments. People will lie, y'all. That's just the truth. That is the truth. People will lie. People will manipulate the truth. People will um, forget to provide some key facts. They'll omit a few things. So, part of taking your power back is also actively questioning what's presented for you as opposed to just taking it on face value. And it can be done without being disrespectful. Um, no one should be offended if you question something. And when I have people when they like, oh, well, you don't believe me? Well, okay, the answer is no. No, I do not believe you. Or it can be like, well, I believe you, but I really feel like I'm missing some pieces of information. Like there's some gaps in it, and I need to gather some more information to fill those gaps, right? So it could be from any of those perspectives, but trust but verify, or, you know, verify then trust, whichever works for you. I encourage that. That's a part of making sure that you can engage in independent thinking and maintain some power and curiosity about all the things around you, what's going on in your world. Um, the third thing is be different. And by be different, and I know that's, for some people, just saying those words is like, oh, very challenging because there's like, oh, I'm not trying to stand out. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about that's a whole other thing. That's a whole mindset thing that we can talk about another time. But I'm talking about being different as far as doing things differently, talking to different people, reading challenging books or pieces. Be different by not just taking things as they're presented to you, but go actively explore other people, places, ideas that don't line up exactly with what you thought they did or where you think they should be. We all have room to grow and learn. If you're not still growing and learning, then you are very much on the road to being intellectually deceased, right? It's not a healthy place to be. And in a lot of ways, when people start shutting down that, people don't want to be around. People don't want to be around people who don't have any level of open mindedness. It's not a matter of you having to agree to all the things you come in terms with, but just even listening, having the ability to listen. How about that? How about training yourself to have the ability to listen first without judgment? Because who knows what you might learn in the process, right? And then the fourth thing that I have is to be willing to sit in the uncomfortable moments. Ooh, that's a tough one. Now, I will own that is not always easy because, as opposed to being uncomfortable with a situation or with a conversation, we will, I won't say it's always natural instinct, but for some people the natural instinct is just to turn it off, not listen, and make up some excuse. I don't have time, that's not the truth, there's no reason for me to believe you, and just shut it down, like basically just shutting it down. And the shutting it down has may or may not have anything to do with the actual information or conversation or situation, but it's more about our own comfort level and not being ready and willing to sit with that within ourselves. That's not an external issue, that's an internal one. So I encourage you to think about where you might need to be looking at what are some situations where I was not comfortable with where the conversation was going, the subject matter, whatever it might have been, and I shut it down as opposed to listening or as opposed to doing some homework to get a better grip on it. I just turned it off, boop, and pretended like it never happened. That's doing a disservice not just to the other person, it's doing a disservice to yourself. You're shutting off an opportunity to grow. And that's not always good. And it certainly doesn't lead to being a uh, better thinker, an independent thinker who's willing to at least hear something out. You don't have to agree with it. I always say that you don't have to agree with it all the time, but at least to hear it out, or to hear it out enough to challenge the, go do your homework and challenge the veracity of it, whatever the situation might be. All right, those are it. That was a quickie. I just had that thought just came to mind, especially in the terms of everything that's going on in the world, and just wanted to encourage you to push yourself a little bit. You know, it is so empowering to give yourself some freedom to grow, to go to another level. And guess what? I know one of those uncomfortable things may mean that you may leave some people behind as you grow and learn more. It may shift the way you think, it may shift what you think, what you believe. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Not necessarily a bad thing. So I encourage you to sit with that, and we will talk some more tomorrow. But before we go, thanks again for joining. Please make sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe so that we can push this out to others who may be uh, excited to hear some of this content. All right. So until tomorrow, I'm going to encourage you to celebrate you and all that you do and all the fantastic ways that you can be your best and authentic self. All right. Take care. Talk soon.